He was just another kid waiting for his flight, clutching his backpack and minding his world. But within minutes, everything shifted. Sirens echoed through the terminal. Security tightened. And then, 9 police dogs circled a terrified black boy as travelers froze, whispering, recording, and assuming. No one knew what sparked it, and he couldn't even find the words to defend himself. But what happened next didn't just expose fear, it revealed a truth this airport never expected to confront. The real question is, why was he targeted in the first place? If this story already has your heart racing, hit that like button and drop a comment. Your thoughts matter and help spread awareness. Before that day at the airport, he was just a 14-year-old boy with dreams bigger than his small neighborhood. His name was Malik, a quiet kid who loved airplanes, science documentaries, and sketching anything that inspired him. This trip was supposed to be the highlight of his year. His school had selected him for a youth technology program overseas, something he had worked months for, pouring his heart into every project. His mother woke him early that morning, proud, hopeful, and maybe a little nervous, but Malik only felt excitement. He kept checking the boarding pass tucked safely in his pocket, imagining what it would feel like to see the world from above for the very first time. The airport felt overwhelming but magical to him. Walls of glass, giant screens blinking with flight numbers, and the distant hum of engines. He blended into the crowd, moving with the quiet confidence of someone who knew they were on the edge of something life-changing. He didn't draw attention. He didn't cause trouble. He was simply waiting, exploring the terminal, absorbing everything. But sometimes the moment before chaos feels deceptively calm. As he walked toward his gate, something shifted, subtle at first, like eyes lingering too long, like whispers he couldn't quite understand. A few people stared, stepped aside, or looked again as if trying to confirm a suspicion that had formed out of nowhere. Malik didn't know it yet, but the peaceful morning he cherished was already cracking. Because while he was focused on his future, someone else had already decided he didn't belong in theirs. And that silent judgment was about to turn his dream trip into something far darker. Malik tried to ignore the strange glances, assuming they were nothing more than the usual airport rush. He found a seat near his gate, opened his sketchbook, and began drawing a plane taking off. It calmed him. It grounded him. But the calm didn't last. A uniformed officer walked past him once. Then again. The third time, he slowed down, just enough for Malik to feel a chill crawl up his spine. Something was wrong, though he couldn't name it. His fingers tightened around his pencil. Another officer appeared, scanning the area with sharp, restless eyes. And then a third. They weren't looking for danger. They were looking at him. Before he could even stand, a sudden alarm echoed through the terminal. People turned. Heads shifted. A cluster of security guards, far more than anyone would expect, moved with synchronized urgency. 9 police dogs strained at their leashes as handlers pushed through the crowd. Travelers stepped aside, whispering, unsure of what threat had triggered such a response. Malik froze. The formation stopped right in front of him. Every dog faced him, growling, pacing, waiting for a command. The handlers created a tight circle, isolating him from everyone else. The world around him blurred into a mix of gasps, camera flashes, and murmurs that carried assumptions he didn't understand. His heart pounded so loudly he could barely hear anything else. He looked at his backpack on the floor, the same small worn bag he had used for school every day. To him, it held notebooks, a charger, his passport, and a snack his mother packed with love. But to the officers surrounding him, it was suddenly a symbol of suspicion. One of them signaled the dogs forward. They lunged, sniffing aggressively, circling him like he had already been proven guilty. Passengers began recording, some stepping back, others leaning forward, eager to capture whatever was about to unfold. Their faces carried the same quiet question. What did this boy do? Malik couldn't answer it. He couldn't even comprehend why strangers looked at him with fear instead of empathy. All he felt was the crushing weight of being judged before he was even spoken to. The officers demanded he remain still. Malik didn't move. He couldn't. Every instinct told him that any sudden shift, any attempt to explain, to breathe differently, to adjust his posture, might be mistaken as resistance. He kept his hands visible, palms trembling slightly, praying no one misinterpreted his fear. The dogs circled again. Another officer analyzed his boarding pass. One inspected the floor around him. Someone whispered into a radio, eyes locked on Malik's face with a suspicion so intense it felt personal. And then, in the tense silence of the airport, a single phrase echoed loudly from a nearby traveler, soft but cutting enough for Malik to hear, "Of course it's him." The words sliced deeper than the circle of dogs ever could. People nodded, whispering, feeding a narrative that Malik wasn't even aware existed. The officers tightened their formation. The dogs grew restless. And as Malik stood trapped in the center of 9 snarling police dogs, waiting for a truth he didn't know, the situation shifted yet again, this time in a way that would change everything. Because someone had just arrived at the scene. Someone who would either save him or make everything far worse. If you're still watching, don't click away. What happens next is the turning point that will shock you. Stay with Malik's story till the very end. You won't regret it. The man who stepped into the circle wasn't a random traveler. He was the airport's head of security, stern, towering, and known for never questioning his own instincts. His eyes scanned Malik with a cold certainty, the kind that didn't look for truth, only for confirmation. Behind him, the dogs tensed, waiting for a single gesture that could escalate everything beyond return. He lifted Malik's backpack from the floor. For a moment, the entire terminal fell silent. Phones hovered in the air. Breath held. Malik's heart hammered painfully against his ribs. The security chief unzipped the bag with slow, deliberate force, as though preparing to unveil something catastrophic. Every second felt stretched, heavy, and suffocating. Empty wrappers. Pencils. A portable charger. His passport. His mother's carefully packed snack. Nothing more. But instead of relief, Malik felt the air thicken. The chief didn't react. No apology, no easing of suspicion. Instead, he inspected each item with exaggerated intensity, as if refusing to accept the obvious truth. There was no threat. There never had been. The dogs barked suddenly, lunging forward, reacting to the tension spiraling out of control. Malik flinched, just a subtle movement, a natural response to fear, but it was enough. Officers stepped in closer, tightening the circle, treating the instinctive recoil like a provocation. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Malik stood inches from chaos, one misunderstood motion away from becoming another tragic story, a child punished for simply existing in the wrong skin at the wrong moment. And then something unexpected happened. A woman from the crowd pushed forward, her voice steady but shaking with anger. Her badge hung around her neck, an international rights observer traveling for work. She had seen everything. Every assumption. Every escalation. Every silent bias that turned an innocent boy into a target. She stepped between Malik and the dogs, her presence cutting through the tension like a blade. What she said next didn't just challenge the officers, it exposed a truth they could no longer hide. And it forced the entire airport to face something far more uncomfortable than a supposed threat. The woman didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. She simply laid out the truth the officers had ignored from the beginning, every step she had witnessed, every unfounded suspicion, every action fueled by everything except evidence. Her words were calm, but each one struck with the weight of undeniable clarity. The tension in the air shifted. Officers exchanged uncertain glances. The dogs were pulled back. And slowly, the circle around Malik loosened. The head of security finally stepped away, but not out of accountability, only out of embarrassment. Cameras were still recording. Travelers were still watching. The truth, once exposed, could not be undone. Malik was finally allowed to move, though his legs trembled beneath him. Someone handed him his backpack. Someone else whispered an apology too soft to matter. But Malik didn't feel relief. Not yet. He felt the heaviness of what almost happened. The humiliation of being treated like a danger instead of a child. The realization that innocence wasn't enough to keep him safe. When his mother arrived, shaken, holding him tightly, she wasn't just comforting her son. She was reminding herself he was still alive. His flight was delayed. His dreams were not. But something inside him had changed. The world felt more complicated, more fragile. And yet, as he walked toward his gate again, surrounded now by those who had once doubted him, Malik carried something stronger than fear, clarity. A truth he would never forget. Because this wasn't just an airport incident. It was a window into a reality countless others face every day, being questioned, cornered, or condemned before being understood. A reality that repeats itself in quiet corners and crowded spaces, in headlines and hidden moments. The question isn't just what happened to Malik. The real question is, how many more innocent lives must be surrounded, judged, or threatened before the world finally stops treating fear as evidence? If Malik's story moved you, share it with someone today. Comment your thoughts below, and make sure to subscribe. This channel tells the stories that need to be heard, and your support helps bring more truths to light.